And welcome to the SLT podcast. You have myself, Ziggy Moore, founder owner of More Education and assistant head teacher. We have Miss. Introduce yourself. I don't do an introduction.
Rena Johnson. They know who I am.
They know no, but you see, the thing is, you say they know who you are, yeah.
We go through this every time.
Yes, but they always ask, "Where's Ree? Where's Ree?" She's here. She is here. And again, we have our special guest in the building, Mr. Gary Phillips. Now, um,
Thank you for having me back.
yes, yes, Mr. Phillips has been kind enough to stay for one of our Q&A sessions. So, as you know, we get questions from all over, but this is one of the first times, yeah. I don't know if you saw it in our DMs. You know, we got a DM for a question from a parent in the SLT
Wow,
podcast.
that's good.
Yeah, no. So if you want your question answered, you can DM us. We will. This is the first time, because usually we kind of pull some of the questions from our parent group
Yeah.
that we're part of, but we've got a special DM. I felt really special when this came through. So today we're going to be doing parents' questions and answers. So, and I really like this question because I think it alluded to an awareness of parents and like
Yep.
children. So I just wanted to kind of put this out there. We're going to see if what Gary's perspective is from his years of headship. So it said, excuse me, I said, thank you. So, primary age child, I'm trying to teach him how to be outspoken in regards to questioning instructions from others and challenging where he feels unjust and doesn't just agree with an opinion. In school, challenging is not welcomed.
No.
Yeah. And has been seen as disrespectful. I'm trying to teach this as a way to ensure when he gets older, he doesn't kind of follow his peers and has a strong sense
Yeah.
of self. What do you think is the best way to navigate this? Look forward to your answers. Thank you. Sorry, just to add, he is overall he's seen as quite a model student.
Cool.
Not a lot of negative behaviours. Who wants to go first on this one?
I'll go first. I think I always say to people, it's not what you say, it's the way that you say it. So if he wants to challenge the teachers, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
um,
Teachers, adults, yeah.
yeah,
Friends, peers.
then I guess the parent just has to guide him into doing that in a non-confrontational way, which, as we know, with adolescence, is no mean
He's primary.
feat. Oh, of course, he's primary.
Yeah.
Well, they're more malleable at that age. So I guess maybe doing like role play, for want of a better phrase. If the teacher does that, how would you respond to them? He might say, "Oh, miss, I think that's not fair." And then the parent can say, "Well, it might be better to say, miss, can I just share my thoughts?" And just, yeah, kind of rehearse different scenarios.
Nice.
Well, I'd agree. I think it's time and place is what, when I look back on my own behaviour, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. And so what you're trying to teach your kids always is there's a good time to challenge and there's a good, as you would say, how you would say it as well. And no teacher enjoys being challenged in front of the whole class. But most teachers, when you pick up with them at the end of the class quietly, "Miss, can I speak to you about this? Sir, can I speak to you about this?" will respond in a very kind of mature and sensible way. So yeah, thinking about audience and purpose.
I have a slight challenge to that, and I think this is based on my own experience. I was a rambunctious little black boy who grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and I know, and also in my own experience, I am going to add the element of race to it. How sometimes little black boys are perceived when challenging authority, and not just boys, because it's a boy here, but children of other races. We have natural perceptions of, oh well, those group of people, they're quite meek and mild, so how they may approach it is fine. However, I view those group of people as quite challenging and rambunctious. How, because you now have to introduce your child to the element of perception and race. How do you do that? Because it's something I know my mum struggled with greatly. Because I'd come out and say, no, that's not. No, you shouldn't do that. That's not right. Even though I didn't speak like that. I don't know why I put that. I didn't speak like that. No, I didn't. But I had a habit of just blurting things out. I was 7 and 8. I didn't have a filter, but I knew what I was saying. I had a keen sense of justice. I especially didn't like when adults would say little comments or put children down.
Yeah.
And I would always challenge that and get into a lot of trouble. Whereas I know if some other classmates of mine challenged that, there wouldn't be. So how do you navigate that element there with a child?
Do we know the age of the child?
Primary. I get the impression it's a key stage 2-ish child.
Yeah.
So key stage 1, I don't think I would be inclined to have the race conversation with them. If they were in year 5, year 6, getting ready for transition, then yes. And, just be candid with them to say that even though it might not be your intention, there are some people in society who may view you in a stereotypical way. So you need to be mindful of the way that you communicate with people because of those preconceived notions. Yeah, that's my initial answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I speak as an outsider, obviously, as I'm not a black parent, but I remember talking to our mutual friend, actually, the deputy head, and he was saying, I'm going to have to talk to my children about their experience of being black children in a school, but I can't decide at what age to do that. And I think that must be the really difficult thing for black parents to think about. When do I do this? When do I make them aware that people are judging them differently because of their complexion more than anything else? And there's no right answers. You have to do things when they feel right, I think, and when you're confident that your child can start to cope with this stuff. And I'm not quite sure when that is for every child.
I think it is different. It's almost like the when you begin to introduce the birds and the bees conversations, not to equate the two, but it's about the level that the child is at. Because even though my son now is 17, I'm still having to have certain conversations with him because he is quite a strapping young lad, shoulders. So, and I went somewhere with him recently, and I could see people looking at him. And because obviously I'm not that cool, he doesn't hang out with me that much. So I don't walk around with him that often. And we was, and I looked at him. I said, the people assume you're not the age. He goes, yeah, people always think I'm older. I was like, yeah. And he told me about this interaction in the gym with a lady. Yeah. And I'm not sure if you're aware, there are these huge things all over the internet about gym etiquette and ensuring that women feel safe. And it's a big thing. And he had this interaction with this lady, and he had to explain to her, like, I'm really sorry. I'm only 17.
Yeah.
I am not, I'm just starting to come to the gym. I'm not really aware of certain social etiquette.
Oh, interesting.
And she was completely diffused because she was very ready to be quite defensive. How dare you, so on and so forth. And he said, I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
And yeah, those conversations, you're gonna have to prepare your child for different conversations at different stages. So at the time, now it's going to be a conversation with the teacher. It may be how to manage yourself in a workplace setting, conversations that, unfortunately, if you especially have black boys in London, how to manage yourself around the police or certain levels of authority. These are conversations that are just going to have to be had.
So what you're saying to this parent really is to imagine this conversation as the first one on a long continuum of conversations, and to kind of pick up some key threads that you want to always come back to, and to kind of decide what those threads might be. And in a funny sort of way, the primary classroom is probably the safest place to first have those conversations. especially if the parents had the opportunity to talk to the class teacher
To
beforehand,
enhance that, yeah.
because it's different to secondary school where you have 12 classroom teachers plus another 20 or so staff that might be supervising at any time in the day. In the primary classroom, it's generally one teacher, one TA. And so to actually be able to say, this is what I've asked my son to start to kind of negotiate, and could you respond in an appropriate way and perhaps give him the feedback on how he's speaking to you and how it's affecting change, that might be a nice soft way to kind of start this very long journey.
I like that.
Yeah, man, I like that. That's why he's the boss, isn't it?
That's why he's the boss man.
Brilliant.
Easier said than done.
Yes, yeah. It's a difficult conversation, and I hope you've had some kind of feedback from that. I know, Miss Johnson. I know you had.
Yeah, I had a
You had a
query
question.
recently from a parent. So her son is in year 10, and is refusing to go to school. But the school is not working with her. They're just sending her reminder letters and saying, if you don't bring him in, this is what's going to happen next. But she's got younger children that she has to take to primary school, so she's not quite sure what she should do.
Ooh, that's a big thing at the moment.
It is, yeah.
You're getting a lot of school. So for any parents out there who are listening, you're not alone.
Yeah, that's the first thing. And there must be quite a lot of places on the internet for advice and support.
Yeah. We actually run a parents group, WhatsApp group.
Oh, wow.
Where there's a few members of staff who you know who kind of give their 2 pence
that's
in,
good of them.
throw them in.
Yeah.
Just to kind of help, but that attendance thing is a big thing. What can you do, because you're gonna get taken to court eventually, aren't you?
Yeah, well, there's 2 or 3 things, isn't there? There's an expectation that the school should be leaning in, and I think the school has to be reminded of that in a way which will make them lean in more. And that's about trying to book an appointment and go in and kind of slowly develop an attendance plan for bringing them back in. And then there's a second thing, which is probably really difficult if it's just yourself, which is seeing if there's another way you can juggle childcare in the morning, if there's some sort of morning club that, early morning club that the children could go to, or whether there's some other, you could get permission to juggle it so that for the next week, my primary children are sadly going to be a little bit late, but they'll be with me whilst I drop off my secondary child. But I suspect the issue is more than that. The issue is about getting in there and leaning in and looking at the timetable and because as you fall more behind as a child, so you less want to return to the classroom. It's what we call cumulative disfluency. You just can't, if you've missed the first half of the unit on algebra, the second half is really, really full of dread, aren't you? And so on. If you've met the first half of the book, everybody's talking about themes you don't know about. I suppose the third thing is, which can work with some children, is to get a friend to try and look after them and take them in. And often, if your best friend is kind of collecting you on the way, if your best friend's there waiting for you, if your best friend is helping you the night before so you don't feel behind in that lesson, all those little things can sometimes help.
So can the school, what part can school play in that? Because children will do it quite organically, without much structure from the school. But can the school offer? I'm trying to think, because I'm thinking of a student now who their attendance has improved greatly because they feel a lot more comfortable because they're coming in with the friend. But if anything happens to this friend, you're now going to have two. Well, one won't be there and another poor attender. But the school really has no agency in that whatsoever.
So, unpopular opinion, I always think that something is always better than nothing, and not many people are fans of reduced timetables. But if it's problematic in the morning, get him in for the afternoon session, just as the temporary measure, because it's better for him to be there for the afternoon sessions and build it up to doing full days, rather than just sending out letters saying, oh, his attendance is at 21%. I think working with parents is always better than just reprimanding them, because we have to.
You're trying all your levers to get the young person in, but you have got to try and lean in and see what the need is. So why are you struggling to come into school? You know, do you need some counselling support? Is there some special needs that we've not got to the bottom of? And that's why getting that meeting with the senior member of staff in school to try to get underneath the surface of the cause of it is the most important thing, as well as all the tricks, you know, of the parent taking them in if they can, their best friends looking after them, trying to get them to sign up for after school sport if they're into something where they might actually get into the squad and enjoy going after school. All of those things. But they're probably beyond a lot of those things if they're writing into you.
Yeah, as a parent. Yeah, especially in year 10 as well. Yeah. It's critical.
Work experience, that's the other thing. Getting your child to go and spend some time, a few days at work, if at all possible, in a school holiday with somebody who's doing the sort of work they want to do, so that the purpose of school is there.
Do you know, a lot of, I think, not to use this term, back in the day, that was quite easy.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I speak to a lot of parents about this. A lot of places aren't willing to take children under 16.
That's it, yeah.
School work experience isn't compulsory anymore. And there's a real reluctance to take children unless you've got a mate, unless...
That's it. No, it's friends and family.
Yeah, Nepo babies. Yeah. Unless you're a Nepo baby, like my children, I'm saying that directly into the camera, where even my son who's gone into carpentry, the reason he went into carpentry is because most summers he spent with my uncle.
Oh, wow.
Who's a carpenter and been a carpenter for a very, very, very long time. And that's how we developed that love.
Cool.
Same with my daughter. The reason she's gone into it is because she was given some work experience with some friends and family. But a lot of children don't get that connection.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. He studied carpentry because he did it. She studied this because she did it. That's how.
But there are organisations that do support schools. So Speakers for Schools is a good one. They do work experience. There's another one, Spring Pod, who does virtual work experience, which isn't ideal. But if you've got a school refuser and they've got a laptop, they can still at least engage. The King's Trust as well. I'm so proud that I remembered to say the King's Trust and not the Prince's Trust.
It's changed now.
It's changed.
King's Trust, yeah.
Yeah, so there are, places that people can go to.
I'm thinking of one in Lambeth called Step Now. They do some amazing work. They did some work with a few schools, Lilian Baylis being one of them, around...
the barbering? I saw that on the news.
Yeah. They also do some amazing work over the summer. So, you're right. You're going to have to do a little bit of research.
Yeah.
But there are some amazing organisations in different London boroughs.
But nothing beats work because we're talking about two things, actually. One is career experience. This is the career that might interest you. So go and spend some time with your uncle who's a carpenter, for example. The other one is work experience, which is just go and spend a few days with a member, friend and family going to work and seeing what it's like. You're going to have to get up at 7 a.m. You're going to have to put in a long shift at work. You'll get half an hour for lunch, however it is. Because, when you're 15, it's very close and you need to know that. And we had some really good success stories with young people who did things like that, often during the holidays that family had arranged. And it included working, I can remember a child who worked on a market stall, another one who worked with some scaffolders, and obviously they didn't allow him up the ladders, and so on. It doesn't always have to be career experience. There's two things. And I think work experience has the wrong label. There's work experience and there's career experience.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of young people, and this is where I'm going to sound a bit old, because of the glitz and glamour of certain careers.
Of course, yeah.
So even like YouTubers and content creators, if you're in that world, it's relentless work. It's horrible. It seems easy because I've just got to take out, but once you get that viral clip, you now have to replicate that. You have to replicate that. You have to replicate that. once you get deal partnerships or brand partnerships, no matter how you feel, your brand partnership may be, I've got to do 10 posts within a fixed amount of time and hit certain metrics, but the kids don't really see that. They just think, oh, I've got a phone, they've got a phone, it's pretty easy.
I've got the tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it really doesn't work like that. And I do have conversation with some of my social media friends saying saying that please be a bit more honest about how difficult it is. And some have started to like be quite honest with, because our young people think all day long.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of every pyramid, you don't see all the people underneath who are struggling to make a living in every profession, actually.
Very
the
true.
rest of it.
Very true, very true. All right, well, as I said, this was a quick Q&A session. Hopefully we've been able to cover some key points. As I said, if you DM us at, what is our actual handle? Because I'm going to get it wrong. So I'm going to go into our Instagram now while we're live on air, how professional, and go to our handle. So make sure you go to _SLT_ and pop us a DM. Please remember to like, share, and comment. All that good YouTube stuff, so we can get more of these out. We're going to wrap this up. I'm going to say thank you for another episode. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
For jumping in. No, these responses were brilliant, weren't they?
They were fantastic.
That's very kind of you.
Amazing. Listen, we're probably going to try and get Gary on again. We're gonna push. He's a very busy man, but at some point we're going to try and get him on again. But look forward to more episodes. It's one of our anniversary episodes. We've been doing this a year, so just want to congratulate.
Yeah, you should be pleased with yourself. Yeah, it's big achievement. And I want to go back to what I said about when you asked me in an earlier episode about biggest changes in the last 22 years.
Yes.
I was thinking one of the big changes is the huge diversity of voices you now hear in and about education, which we didn't used to have at the time. It was 2 or 3 head teachers. They were the spokespeople of the profession, and that was it. But now when you look at it, there's lots of people like yourselves describing their experience of education and giving a far more richer and insightful description of it. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Love
you very
that.
much. We will relentlessly continue in 2025 to push the content that is needed. So thank you very much.